What's something weird, funny, embarrassing you've done on autopilot? I was looking all over for my keys and finally thought that I might have left them in the car. I went outside and my car was locked, so I pulled my keys out of my pocket, unlocked the door, opened the door and realized how much of an idiot I am. The battery on my car remote went dead and I was late for work. I frantically pressed the unlock button to get it to work. No dice. I was like, sit, fuck, how do I get to work? Should I work from home? I rather not though. Damn it, what to do? Then I realized I could use the key. You know, that jagged metal thing you jab in keyholes? The key isn't even hidden in the remote. Washed an apple at the sink, dried it with a paper towel, turned and tossed the apple in the trash and stood there holding the towel like an idiot. I have thrown away ceramic plates more times than I care to admit. Undressing to shower, I threw my underwear into the toilet instead of the laundry and flushed it. I kissed my wife's best friend. It was totally innocent and something we laughed about. I had to take a bus to work every day at about 4 a.m. My wife usually drove me to the stop so that I didn't have to leave my car there for 14 hours. My wife's friend was staying with us while she looked for a job and house in the area. She was getting up early anyways, so she decided she would take me and let my wife sleep. When we got to the stop, I just instinctively leaned over and kissed her goodbye. She had a dumbfounded look on her face, and mine instantly turned red as I realized what I'd done. I just said sorry, it was a habit. My wife poked fun at me for days for putting the moves on her friend. I used to work on a farm and we always took our boots off before entering the homestead for meal breaks. One afternoon I absent-mindedly unbuttoned my jeans and started to take them off instead of my boots. I guess my brain decided I was done for the day. I used to work for Comcast in their call center. I worked 3 p.m. 12 a.m. so the only thing that was open when I would get off work was McDonald's. During the holidays they have unlimited overtime. Me being 19 and having no obligations at the time decided to just work non-stop until I fell down at my desk. I worked 3 days straight of OT, taking my mandatory breaks every couple of hours and napping in the lunchroom here and there. Finally I decided I'd had enough and started on my way home at around 2 a.m. one morning. I stopped at the McDonald's drive-thru because I wanted something hot to eat. Up until this point I'd subsisted on mints and packs of crackers from a vending machine. The conversation went something like this: drive-thru lady, go ahead and order when you're ready. Me, thanks for calling Comcast, home of the triple play. My name is LBAILE200. How can I assist you today? A very long pause. I ended up sleeping in the parking lot of that McDonald's for about 12 hours in my car. The manager eventually knocked on my window and asked me if I was homeless and if I needed to come in and warm up. Have a good day, sir. Love you too. Awkward shuffle out of Panera. I'm an ex-bus driver and many times on my way home from work, I would go to pull into a bus stop in my car. The pipe underneath my sink was broken, so I put a bucket below it to catch the water leaking out. When it was full I poured it back in the sink and proceeded to flood my kitchen. I was working the back line at an Arby's way back in the day. We used to get our sub buns foot long, but all the subs we sold were 6-inch. I literally reached into the bag, grabbed a sub roll, cut it in half, and then put the knife back in the bag and tried to cut another sandwich with the sub bun. My manager saw it and died. Was signing for a parcel on one of those electronic things delivery drivers use, and I wasn't paying any attention and ended up staring at it for a minute and then just drawing a straight line on the screen and handing it back. He was confused. My wife's friend and her husband were leaving after having dinner at our house. As they're leaving, she says love you to my wife. Naturally, I respond love you too. Yeah, good night. Go to the cinema to watch Quantum of Solace. Walk in 5 minutes late. Furious car chase on screen. Instinctively try to find my seatbelt. I tried putting the milk bottle back in the microwave, then got mad when it didn't fit. I only stopped trying cause my brother was there watching and he started laughing. Got in my car to buy groceries and drove the 45 minutes to work. P.S. But the actually embarrassing one is when you are a home care nurse and you walk into one of your patients' home at 9 p.m. expecting them to have milk and bread in stock. Always running to catch the subway after waiting at the crosswalk in front of the station. Casually walking with my friend in the same area yesterday. Started running when the cross sign lit up. He was like, WTF? I drove home from Phoenix to Prescott, forgetting the fact that I had moved to Flagstaff about a month prior. Got all the way to my old driveway before realizing my error. Both Prescott and Flagstaff are north of Phoenix, but are about 1.75 hours apart from each other. I had recently been attending a lot of marital arts classes at night. One morning at work I accidentally bowed at my boss when I entered his office. This was in the US. Neither of us are of Asian descent, and yes, he noticed. It was awkward. Stopped at a stop sign and waited at least a minute and a half for it to turn green. Just today I went to the grocery store, packed everything into my backpack at self-checkout and went home. As soon as I got home I remembered I never actually paid. Edit. To all those asking if I went back and paid, I did. As soon as I noticed, I went back, swiped my card in the self-checkout and got it over with. Nobody had even noticed. The store is about 300 m from my apartment complex. For clarification as to how I got away with it, the self-checkout works by swiping your personal discount card, then grabbing a scanner that lights up. You scan all your items before putting them into your cart basket. When you're done, you put the scanner back, then go to one of the self-checkout registers, swipe your discount card again to create a bill to pay, then pay it using your debit card. I did everything except swipe my card and pay, since I usually do all this before packing everything. Yesterday I was worried if they'd fit, so I wanted to find out first, put them all into my backpack and then went my merry way without a second thought. I was feeling an encroaching sickness coming upon me one time, so I decided to be proactive and make myself a couple of days worth of the most baller chicken soup I could manage in advance, so I'd be able to eat well even when I was dying of the lurgy. I chopped the carrots, I sorted the onions, I stewed the chicken bones, and I cooked that motherfucker down for 8 hours into the most delicious stock you could imagine. Then I poured it all through a colander into the sink. I was tired at the time, but sat down on the toilet thinking that the seat was up and just pissed all over the seat, floor and myself. Not a great thing to do or clean up at 3 a.m. I've worked as a caregiver for adults with mental and physical disabilities for more than a decade now. I'm a caregiver. I do basic cares, which include helping many adult men do their daily activities, things like shaving, buttoning shirts, making sure belts are on correctly, so on and so forth. Once on a date, I was a bit buzzed. I fixed my date's shirt, and told him he needed to look in the mirror and see if he wanted a shave. On the railroad, you can get verbal permission to pass a red signal or flag either from the dispatcher or the employee who placed the red flag. You cannot under any circumstances pass a blue light or flag, because that protects employees working on under between rolling stock beyond the blue signal. Driving home in the car late one night, I decided to take a shortcut through the local university. I go around a corner and see a blue light marking a police call station. Immediate conclusion: sit, can't go that way. I stepped on a Cheeto and apologized to it. I work with preschoolers and we sing songs to help them wash their hands, and I started singing the same song when I went out with some friends to a bar. I was getting my car out of the parking lot, heading back home after a long day. Shortly after I started driving, I passed by a car that is identical to mine and thought, cool. I found the car. I got out of the car to go to the other car. Halfway through I noticed that WTF I am doing, looked around hoping to God that no one saw me, and then went back on my merry way. Wasn't a proud moment. When I arrive at work, I subconsciously look for my friends' cars, so I know who's already there. One day, I saw the same car as mine and thought, I'm here as well. I was sitting in math class one day, and I was just humming to myself while the teacher explained something at the board. She went to turn off the projector, which is next to my desk. Then, still standing next to me, she gives me this weird look and asks, is something wrong? I had been so deep in thought that I had lost the tune but kept humming, so I was now just humming along, low HMM without any change in pitch. So yeah, that was embarrassing. Sometimes in the shower I fill my mouth up with water and just kind of let it pour out. Was brushing my teeth standing in the bathroom one day, fully dressed before work. I just let the toothpaste pour slowly out of my mouth and onto my clothes as if I were in the shower. Now every time I brush my teeth my boyfriend warns me not to spit all over myself. I lived in the same house for 16 years. Moved out. Years later I did some summer work as a construction worker on my old house. First day I walked in, mindlessly did what I always did when I came in, waltzed into the kitchen during the family's breakfast, opened the fridge and peered inside for a long while looking for something to eat. I came to myself, dude, I don't live here anymore, looked up, and the family was all staring at me from the breakfast table, forks in midair at this unknown construction worker making himself right at home. I was so embarrassed I backed out, stammering the whole time and trying to have them understand I'm so sorry, I used to live here. Wasn't allowed inside work at that job site for a while.